This short presentation is just going to very briefly have a chat to you about exam technique in approaching questions in a short response exam, and just just a bit of a method that you can use to follow in interpreting and then planning and completing those types of questions. All right. So the first thing to consider, if you have them available on your test paper, is the ISMGs. So the instrument marking guide for each of the types of thinking that you're going to do. Generally speaking, you'll have at least one question devoted to each of comprehension, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And if you've got the ISMG there, it's giving you a guideline of the things that you need to do in answering the question. So that when, for example, with synthesis here, we're allocating marks, you need to justify decisions. You need to support your arguments. So in developing that decision, you've got to use arguments that are supported by evidence. And for synthesis, of course, you need to use a range of sources because that's the underlying principle of that thinking technique. All right. So when we first look at the question, the first thing we should do is obviously have a read of the question before we read the source. So this will start to channel our thinking and getting us locked onto what we need to do in order to interpret the source to then answer the question correctly. Okay, so I've got my highlighter or a pencil or a pen or something where I can underline keywords. And so what I've also done here is I've bolded some of the words in the question just to emphasise them for you. So we're looking at a paragraph response here, about 150 to 180 words. Remember, 180 words is our uppermost limit. Our marker may choose not to mark anything after that, so we have to be concise. This response is worth 6 marks, so that gives us an idea about the depth of detail that we need to include and how important it is relative to other questions in the paper. So when we move into the question itself, it's directing us to use source 2. So we have to use source 2 only in this question. If we use any other source, that evidence won't be, or those ideas won't be included as part of the response to receive marks. Okay, our driving word in the question, our cognitive verb here is identify. So that should tell us the type of thinking that we're doing, which in this case is comprehension. And then we move to the question itself, where we've got to look at Nero and how he may have been disrespectful towards Claudius. Now, this question has some scaffolding there, some extra detail. This material here will eventually drop off your exam, so that by the time you're in Year 12, you're doing questions that would only have this part here without this extra scaffolding. So while you have it, make sure that you use it, all right? So your response should include. So that's telling you this is what we're looking for. So we're looking here in this case for explicit or obvious actions and behaviours, and also what is implied by those actions and behaviours. What's the hidden meaning or the hidden opinions that are being put forward within the source. All right. Once we've done that, we've looked at the question, we then go to our source and we start looking through our source in light of the question. So we're looking for Nero's attitude towards Claudius and what that attitude was and how it may or may not have been disrespectful. We're looking for the obvious things that come out, but also the hidden sort of insults or the hidden ways in which Nero disrespected him. One thing to also consider with our sources is our source context, and this is very important for questions like involving analysis or synthesis or evaluation in particular. So this is useful information either about the author or about the time that the source is describing, or about the time in which the source was produced. Also down here we have the full reference then for the source. So it's Suetonius. We know that Suetonius's major surviving work is The 12 Caesars. So this is from the book, or the chapter within that book on Nero, and section 33. Once we've done that, and we've had a quick skim through the source and identified things that we can do, we need to select the relevant evidence that we can use to answer the question. And that can be direct quotes or paraphrases or paraphrases. You should then very quickly plan your response. And that can just simply be some keywords jotted down on spare paper or in the margin of your paper. Planning won't be marked, but planning is going to help you write coherently, it's going to help you write concisely, and it's going to help you answer the set question. All right, once you've planned, we obviously then write your response and continue to refer back to the question throughout that time, okay, to make sure that you're answering the set question. And then the final step in all of our thinking processes is to review the response. Have we done what the question is asking you to do? So this pretty straightforward process is something that you should apply to each question that you sit in your short response paper, and it's something that may only take 2 or 3 minutes to do per question. It could be something that you do in the perusal time that you get at the start of the exam. In fact, for us, it's planning time, which means that we can make notes, we can annotate and do things like that, but we can't start writing responses at that point. Okay, so this is a skill, this is a process that needs to be practiced. So when we're working through questions in class, make sure that you're doing this as well.